Today, I'd like to begin with round 35. The title of today's lecture is The Various Stories on UFO. Now, let's talk about some various stories concerning UFO. UFOs have appeared in lots of countries of the earth, and they presented the people on the earth with a sort of awesome and mysterious feeling. Here we have a question as to why they began to appear frequently since 1950s, and why they did not appear before 1950s. It is said that there are two important missions in the Ashita Command, which is an emergency saving UFO fleet surrounding the Earth now. One is to ban or prohibit the nuclear war, and the other is to prohibit the dark forces or some bad aliens from grasping the whole Earth or from interfering with the matters of the Earth. Therefore, my opinion is that the main purpose of the UFO's frequent appearance after the atomic bomb dropping upon Hiroshima and Nagasaki was to prevent any thermonuclear war on the Earth. Of course, there may have been a purpose of scientific explanation of the surface of the Earth. As a matter of fact, quite a long time ago, they say there was a nuclear war in our solar system, and a planet called the Maldek was destroyed completely as a result of the nuclear assault. Nowadays, there exists tremendous number of asteroid 소행성 in Korean, asteroid which has molded a sort of belt, and they move around the sun. Therefore, this asteroid belt is the remnants of the nuclear war. It is said that such an atomic bomb war occurred on the surface of the Mars too. It is said that there exists an cosmic law, that any planet should not be intervened by any other outer forces of existences, and therefore the so-called Galactic Federation does not interfere with any matters on the surface of the Earth, except one case, namely when any place of the Earth has any possibility of a nuclear war, the Galactic Federation intervenes. For a nuclear war can cause the annihilation or destruction of a part of the Earth itself. In fact, it is said that the Lemuria continent, situated in the Pacific Ocean, and the Atlantic continent, situated in the Atlantic Ocean, sank into the deep sea. For the base of both two continents was destroyed due to a nuclear war between the two continents 12,000 years ago. As far as I know, it seems that the UFO-related book, which is written by Mr. Meng Seung-yeol, is the best in our country. As a scientist, Mr. Meng wrote the book UFO Syndrome, scientifically and objectively. This is the book UFO Syndrome. Very, very thick book, but it's a very excellent book, UFO Syndrome. I would like to introduce a highly condensed contents of this book, Mr. Meng Seung-yeol's book, UFO Syndrome. First of all, the following is the contents of Mr. Meng Seung-yeol's book, Meng Seung-yeol. The shape of a UFO looks different in accordance with the time of day or night. At night, a UFO twinkles brightly with a lot of colors, and it shows some abnormal shapes. There's a momentary speeding up, momentary disappearance, and rectangle turning, etc., which technology is nearly impossible for the scientists of the Earth to understand. In the daytime, it shows the shape of a saucer or a sort of oval shape. And it shows somewhat metal composed of material. It is a general phenomenon that when it comes down from the sky, it flies down like a falling leaf in autumn with the movement of perturbation. Perturbation means 섭동 in Korean. Okay? Perturbation, 섭동 in Korean. And when it flies up, it disappears instantly. Furthermore, when it transcends the speed of sound, it never makes any audible sound. It is said that it is possible to explain this phenomenon scientifically, but in reality, the present scientific technology of the Earth cannot perform such a miraculous flight. Scientifically speaking, there is no reaction against the action to go forward the front direction. Theoretically, it can be explained as following. When we make the front space of a UFO a sort of a vacuum, or when we make the collision wave zero with the force of Laplace, which is a kind of electromagnetic force, or when we make the side space of a UFO distorted with the strong artificial gravitation, then we can get rid of the sonic boom. However, considering the technological level of the Earth now, I think it will take a lot of time to have such technology really. One of the most difficult phenomena for us to understand is that when a UFO flies with an alarming speed, it changes its flying direction momentarily to the 90 degrees. A person who knows the physical law can understand the fact that if a flying object turns its direction over 90 degrees with the velocity of several thousand kilometers an hour, the acceleration speed becomes nearly infinite degree. The present level of the aviation technology of the Earth cannot even imagine as to with what technology the aliens have such a fantastic flight. Another characteristic of UFO phenomenon is the Cheshire cat effect, in which a UFO stays in the air and then it disappears quite all of a sudden. As at least in the fable Alicia's Adventures in Wonderland disappears suddenly after a talk with the Cheshire cat, so UFOs show the same pattern. That is, they stay in the air for some time and disappears at once. Concerning this phenomenon, most of the scientists explain it with the problem of dimension. In other words, UFOs fly away to other dimension from this third dimension of the Earth. As I mentioned earlier, the universe is composed of many dimensions, and the present scientists of the Earth say about 10 dimensions, as I said before, and therefore this phenomenon can fully and possibly happen in reality. Different from this explanation, my explanation is as following. Aliens change all of the molecules or atoms of the UFO into the invisible material all at once. And so people cannot see the UFO even though it stays in the air over the people. Now let's look at this picture. It was taken at Anderson in Indiana State of America on August 12, 1981. UFOs are sometimes seen to turn 90 degrees right-hand or left-hand side. It was written by Meng-Seung-Yeol, UFO Syndrome. This was UFO Syndrome. Another mysterious phenomenon at the moment of UFO appearance is that the engines of cars near the UFO stop functioning. And in a special case, tremendous amount of electricity failure makes the whole city dark. For a proof, when we listen to the experts of electricity, they say that it is nearly impossible for the high-pressure transmission system, that is several hundred automatic adjusting systems or safe intercepting apparatus to have electricity failure all in the whole city in a moment. And as a matter of fact, there occurred a great power failure in the 8 states of the northern eastern area of America and some districts of Canada on November 9th, 1965. By the way, what is interesting is that one of the news reporters of the New York Times took a UFO photo staying in the dark sky over the New York City. In general, UFOs leave some shape of landing when they land on the land because of their weight. And in another case, they leave some geometrical pictures on the crop field, usually on the wheat field. Therefore, the remnant shape is called the crop circle. In other words, it means the circle-shaped diagram or figure on the graph, and it is called a mystery circle. The experts of UFO generally say that the main purpose of the aliens drawing these circles is to send some messages to mankind of the earth. Alan West of England explains the principle of drawing crop circles in detail. And he says that, briefly speaking, the aliens design and store the basic pictures in their computer, and finally they draw the pictures with their electronic writing brush in several seconds. This is the Alan was UFO 탐구, the research of UFO 탐구. In many cases, UFOs appear with cloud, and sometimes they are quite invisible with thick cloud, or sometimes they are covered nearly half of their whole body. These sorts of various shapes have one common characteristic in which UFOs are not affected by any wind, and they move forward, backward, left, or right quickly with the cloud. As you know well, this sort of scientifically common cloud cannot show such fast movement with no influence of wind. Well, let's look at this picture. These 3 persons are the first picture of the aliens on the earth. The pictures taken on the yard of Howard Mengel's home. The man taking a document is the commander of Venus Valiant 2, and the man in the middle is the vice commander Dawn, and the woman is Jill from Venus 2. This photo was taken secretly by a photographer called August C. Roberts. Toe is said to have met President Eisenhower and worked at the Pentagon in order to perform some task. It is in the book 미 국방성의 우주인, Stranger at the Pentagon. This book, Stranger at the Pentagon, page 37.